For more on the situation in Kenya, we are now joined in studio by analyst Nixon Katembo from Channel Africa Radio. Nixon, thank you so much for joining us. A lot is unfolding in Kenya. We've seen opposition leader Raila Odinga withdrawing from the presidential poll, which is due to take place in a couple of days or a week and a half or so. Just exactly what's happening with Kenya and the politics there?
I think what is happening in Kenya and the politics is very unfortunate, first and foremost because it's the people who get affected. It's the country which goes back to the years of political turmoil that we saw in 2007. So Raila Odinga having withdrawn at the last minute, I says there is something political sinister that is happening. In my own opinion, I think this is a well-calculated move to sort of kind of try to bring the government to the table and try to negotiate a political settlement.
Do you think they will be able to come to the table to negotiate? Because now he's withdrawing. Uhuru Kenyatta is calling for the poll to continue, and now there's a third candidate who has been given permission by the courts to also be a part of the poll.
Well, that is a legal issue that unfolding as the process unfolds at the same time. But what we need to look at is how does legal processes helping the political processes in the country. And to me, that is a challenge. It seems there are still unresolved issues that keep coming back as Kenya try to move forward. Remember the Constitution of 2010, which was promulgated after the 2007 elections, was a byproduct of trying to avoid the repeat of the political turmoils. Now here we are in 2017, Kenya finds itself almost in the same situation because there is a lack of political compromise and the political will to discuss on how to negotiate a political settlement that will see the country move forward.
The EU, among other global powers, have cautioned both sides about not having a credible election this time around. Would you say there is commitment on either side or from both parties to ensure that they avert the disasters of past years, of the 2007 election where thousands of people lost their lives?
I think what we see currently in Kenya, there is a lack of political will to actually reach a compromise. Only that, if you look at Kenya history, as we've spoken before, in my own view, there is what I would term an ethno-political supremacy battle that is being fought among these two groups. And that cannot be taken away from the Kenyan political trajectory and history at the moment. And as long as that still happens, they don't listen to each other and come to the table and discuss the way forward. I mean, you will have a country divided along ethnic lines.
Do you think the election the poll will take place on the 26th of October?
Well, they have no option, constitutionally speaking. So if they look at how the constitutional processes have been unfolding, and even today in the evening, the SABC just a couple of hours ago have just announced a decision that all 8 candidates who participated in the 8th August elections will be taking part in the poll. In the polls. And interestingly, the SABC said that Raila Odinga hasn't withdrawn formally from contesting the elections according to the electoral law, because you have to fill in the form
and go through the process.
And go through the process.
So why has he made the announcement publicly to say he is withdrawing from this poll?
Now that begs the question, why do we have Raila Odinga taking this last minute decision to take the country in disarray? Well, it might sound somehow partisan for political analysis, but you have to look at why such events are happening and why a person like Okuru Akot, who is, by the way, a professor of constitutional law at Warwick University, and have taught constitutional law at the Kenya School of Law, and he's also a visiting professor at the University of Nairobi. So you see that there is a political game that is being played through the manipulation of the legal processes, and that is dangerous for a country like Kenya, which is ethnically polarized, which can see evidently in how the protests are taking place in the country, who are participating in the processes. And the question we have to ask ourselves in trying to understand how the legal process work in Kenya, the question is, how can legal processes solve political processes? And with the political processes come a question of social justice. We have people who feel marginalized from the political processes, both on the side of NASA and the side of the ruling party Jubilee. And that, as long as still is happening, you will have Kenya still reverberating to the same issues, and politicians feeling that they are entitled to rule until everyone accepts their demand.
Let's speak about reaction from the other candidates, presidential candidates, who are now also included in the poll that is going to be taking place in a few weeks' time. What's their reaction to Odinga's withdrawal? We've heard President Uhuru Kenyatta's reaction. Now, what are the other candidates saying with regards to Odinga's statement that he is withdrawing, and the people of Kenya themselves on the ground? What's been their reaction?
Well, it depends on which side of the political aisle you are on. If you speak to those who support Raila Odinga, they will say no, the process has been unfair. And all discussions emanate on how the Supreme Court ruling was delivered. It says the IBC committed irregularities. And some processes were not followed according to the Constitution. That begs to the question, how does the processes unfold within the IBC, leading to the demand of IBC commissioners on the part of NASA to be dismissed? Now, in the press statement that Raila released stating his withdrawal, he said that he has a problem with actually 4 IBC commissioners. That meaning that those IBC commissioners, as long as they are in the electoral commissions,
yes,
he will not get involved into the process of elections. Now, that begs the question, who are the rest, the 3? Because the commission is formed of 7 commissioners. Who are the rest who look, you know, good to Raila Odinga, and why?
Now, we basically, earlier on, I think it was yesterday, we saw one of the officials, the electoral officials, requesting for assistance or direction with regards to dealing with the polls and the releasing of the results, saying that they need assistance. I think it was the chairperson, if I'm not mistaken, requesting the courts to give direction as to what should happen with regards to the announcing of official results of the polling that will be taking place on the 26th of October. Now, just bearing that in mind, why do you think the courts did not identify, or the court did not identify the officials who had flouted, or who were known to have flouted the process, the process of announcing elections and the fraudulent issues that were brought into play? And why is Raila Odinga also not coming out? Because seemingly he seems to know who these people are.
Exactly, that begs the question of so many political pundits on why the court was so silent in naming those who it says that flouted the elections. And to me, who has been following the political process in Kenya, that is a dangerous move, because it shows on one side what could have been solved as a political question is solved through the courts. Now, when you put the matter through the courts know only one thing. Either you are right, either you are wrong. Now, in the politics of the issues, you have to negotiate. You have to put the pros and cons of your positions forward, and the other party come with his or her positions, then you agree on one common goal. And that is lacking in the political process in Kenya right now. These people, politicians, all alike, have to come together and say, no, we have a country to run, as I have said before. Let Kenya comes first. Now, you talked about the international community. I will be hesitant to involve the international community because it has been playing both a positive and a negative role in disguise. If you look at the 2007 elections, the international community shouted much on one side, we're going to take this one to court, but when the case were presented to court, unfortunately, no one was held accountable. And the question is, if you look at the 2007 elections, Raila Odinga and Mwai Kibaki at the time, they were the main people behind. But why did the court pick those who were on the fringe, like Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, which was both on the political divide? So that's the questions again. Now, if you look at what is happening currently, those who were the main protagonists in the 2007 elections joined hands along their own political alignment. And this has shifted massively how the electoral processes happen in Kenya. Now, if you look at the electoral register of Kenya, close to 16.5 million people who are registered as voters, 17. Already, if you take from the Kalenjins community and the Kikuyus, they have almost 9 million. And if you take the rest, which is the Luo, who are almost the third, the Kamba, and Mijikenda, for instance, on the coast, and all these other small, the Pokot, the Sampurus, and the Somalis, they form almost 7 million of the
voting
total
pool. Yes.
So that shift how the political grounds happen in Kenya. And at the end of it, lately now, the massive defections from NASA coalitions. But this is another aspect that is not well spoken about.
But unfortunately, we have run out of time, Nixon. We will take this up on another day because this is going to be a developing story that the whole world is watching. The 26th of October is just around the corner. But thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there for now. That was analyst Nixon Katembo from Channel Africa Radio, and he was joining us in studio. Now,